This is The Raid, exposing the dark world of America's deportation machine. I'm your host, John Carlos Frey. Hi, everyone. For this week's update, I've struggled on how to address the escalation in immigration enforcement, certainly in Minnesota and across the country. I am, of course, hearing about the raids, and there are shocking actions and events controlled and perpetrated by the administration that I've never seen before. My brain always wants to try and make sense of what I'm seeing. And even though I've been reporting about law enforcement and immigration-related issues for decades, I'm struggling to keep up or even find reasons for the rhetoric, the violations of law, and violence coming from our government. Maybe because I am a reporter, I tend to be more measured than the commentators on social media. But I find myself wanting to be more like them and just call out the brutality as it happens. And then I debate myself, given my training, to put things into context, to try and connect the dots, and to use facts to report. Both approaches leave me feeling shallow, frustrated, and concerned that we're heading in a direction that we haven't been before as a country. So it's from this back and forth perspective I came across a recent statement from Senator Bernie Sanders on his Facebook. His statements have not been a source of my reporting in the past, but this current post seemed to make sense of all that we've been witnessing in the past few weeks. Bernie Sanders accuses Trump of using ICE as his own personal army. He writes, "I'm very worried that ICE is becoming a domestic army for Trump, and that this goes way beyond the issue of immigration. It goes to the movement of this country toward authoritarianism and fear." Whatever you think of Bernie Sanders and his politics is not the point, because if we look back at the weeks prior, since the ICE and Border Patrol raids were unleashed in the cities of America, what I see and what I hear and how I feel is in line with Senator Sanders' statement. This does not feel like immigration enforcement. I've covered immigration enforcement for my entire career, and that's not what this is. Immigration enforcement, just like any other form of law enforcement in this country, is based on norms, regulations, and laws on the books. Today, all we have to do is pick up our phones and scroll through social media to see how immigration enforcement is being conducted and how it doesn't look measured, legal, or even look like law enforcement. Every late-night comic, pundit, and citizen journalist on the street is screaming about it, and maybe that's the point. Maybe we're being trained to be afraid, to wonder if I'm next. The departure from the norms of immigration enforcement go beyond Minneapolis, where the Department of Justice has decided not to even investigate ICE agent Jonathan Ross for the shooting death of Renee Good. Without an investigation, we are left with only being able to take the word of the government as gospel truth and believe that there's nothing to see here, case closed. The dozens of angles of the shooting of Renee Good can no longer be brought into question. The interviews of the eyewitnesses, the ballistic tests are no longer even going to be considered. That is usually standard operating procedure in every law enforcement-related incident. In that particular case, we're being asked not to question what we see, hear, and feel. You are being asked only to believe the government, and if you don't, you're wrong. Or maybe, as I've just said, you're next. According to the dictionary definition of an authoritarian government, it is a political system where the power is concentrated in a single leader or a small group, limiting individual freedoms and political pluralism and operating outside constitutional accountability, often suppressing opposition through control of institutions, media, and sometimes violence, prioritizing state control over citizen input. Sound familiar? In addition, News of the Week is asking us to suspend our senses when it comes to the way that we detain, or shall I say, incarcerate immigrants. The government issued its annual report on detention numbers and statistics, and they reveal some serious problems and violations of norms and laws with respect to those in detention. ICE detention has expanded rapidly under the Trump administration, both in terms of the number of facilities and people held. A year into the Trump administration, immigrant arrests have climbed dramatically, but the actual rate of deportations have not kept pace. The numbers of people being detained have been swelling from 38,000 in detention when Trump took office to 69,000 by the end of 2025, with orders to build more facilities with capacity up to 135,000. When Trump took office, there were 107 ICE detention facilities, and by the end of this year, there are now 212 and growing. The administration is contemplating purchasing warehouses or creating large tent cities. They have an unprecedented $45 billion budget to house immigrants, up from the previous budget of $4 billion. The number of people being held in detention without a criminal record has risen 2,450%. Yes, that's a real statistic. 2,450%. This is direct evidence that ICE raids are not capturing the worst of the worst. Numbers of deaths in detention are near record levels, not seen since the pandemic, when the majority of those deaths were caused by the coronavirus. 32 people have died in detention in the past year, and according to a recent study conducted by the ACLU, 95% of those deaths were preventable. This is not normal immigration enforcement. The Trump administration has ulterior motives. My senses confirm that immigrants of all stripes, people of color, people who speak a foreign language, people who defy the government, and people the administration wants to arrest are all targeted. Again, this is not immigration enforcement. My eyes and ears are constantly reminding me that there is a white supremacist and racist ideology at play that constantly reveals itself through Trump's immigration policy. I don't know why, but I don't even want to believe that statement that I just said. I hate that my government has leaders who believe in the benefits of a white Christian nation as a goal, but I cannot deny my ears and my eyes. This week, the Texas Observer reported that James Joseph Rawdon, an Immigration and Customs Enforcement Assistant Chief Counsel who acts as a prosecutor for ICE in immigration court in Dallas, operates a white supremacist X account named Glomar Responder. The account has over 17,000 followers and has routinely posted hateful statements, including that, quote, America is a white nation, that, quote, migrants are all criminals, and that, quote, all blacks are foreign to my people, in addition to posts with apparent praise of Adolf Hitler. Rawdon was apparently pulled from the federal immigration court schedule after his X account was uncovered by the Texas Observer. 3 members of Congress sent letters to ICE and the Department of Homeland Security demanding an investigation into Rawdon. ICE responded in a letter last March to Congressman Mark Vesey, who represents part of Dallas, stating that the ICE Office of Professional Responsibility, quote, understands the seriousness of the allegations and will ensure that the allegations are addressed appropriately, fairly, and expeditiously. ICE has not provided any further information since. Upon receiving a tip from a source that works inside the Dallas Immigration Court, the Texas Observer arrived at the courtroom of Judge Dietrich Sims this past Tuesday afternoon, ahead of the day's hearings for federal immigration cases. When the Observer opened the door to the courtroom, guess who was there? Rawdon was sitting at the prosecutor's desk wearing his staff badge. Rawdon's X account, Glomar Responder, has been set to private, but is still active. On September 28, 2025, the account responded to a question that was posted to it. Can anyone point to me exactly where America started going downhill, was the question. The account responded. November 6, 1860 was the response. That date is the date that President Abraham Lincoln, the president whose administration ended slavery, was elected. A prosecuting attorney for immigration-related cases hired by ICE was found to have a racist X account and was investigated and subsequently put back on the job handling immigration cases. I cannot deny what I see and what I hear. This is white supremacy. This is authoritarianism. If we expect the Trump administration to act by the tenets of the Constitution, we will be continually frustrated and disappointed. If we expect ICE agents and the entire immigration apparatus to follow norms and the letter of the law, we will not only be continually shocked by what we see on our screens, but we may become numb to the fact that we could be next. I'm only going by what I see and what I hear and what my senses are telling me is the truth. This is a power grab. This is a money grab. This is an authoritarian takeover. And ICE and Border Patrol agents, as Bernie Sanders said on Facebook, are a domestic army for Trump. And all of this has nothing to do with immigration. Thank you for listening to The Raid, available wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about our guests and the subjects we cover, please visit our website at theraidpodcast.org.